Eyewitness News reporter Sharon Osorio is live on Allen Street to explain. Sharon?
Well, Kathleen, this group today is asking you to imagine a Walmart on this street, or maybe even a Home Depot. Now, that's what the Organization of Corporations Against Cooperation says will turn Buffalo's economy around. About half a dozen of that group's members today held picket signs outside Rust Belt Books, a used bookstore which just opened up here a few months ago. The ralliers say if a Barnes & Noble opened up here instead, they'd have more businesses, jobs galore for the area, and it would attract people from the suburbs, too. And they say that's the same thing a Walmart would do, too. Now, while the group is attracting attention today in Allentown, members know they're talking to a skeptical audience.
There's so many small businesses in Buffalo that have stood in the way of larger corporate concerns coming in and trying to improve the area. And I think it's time for that to stop. We think it's hurting Buffalo.
As so much has legitimately died here economically, and as so many big businesses have left, what we're left with is a community that can only save itself by itself.
The protesters say a change in storefront scenery would make a difference in the type of people who spend their time here. In their press release, they state suburban shoppers would come here instead of the, quote, so-called artists and writers and street people. Live on Allen Street, Sharon Osorio, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
But will they really survive over the long haul? One group thinks that bustling area of Buffalo could use a few more big-name businesses. News 4's Marie Rice is live on Elmwood Avenue with the details. Marie?
Well, Don, when you think of Elmwood Strip and you think of Allentown, you think of a unique Buffalo neighborhood with its own unique personality. Well, a newly formed organization would like to see big changes around here. The marchers' numbers were small, but their message is to think big. One sign read, small business is small potatoes.
Wouldn't say we represent anybody but ourselves at this point.
The group calls itself the Organization of Corporations Against Cooperation. Their belief is big business, not small business, will put Buffalo back on its economic feet.
There's so many small businesses in Buffalo that have stood in the way of larger corporate concerns coming in and trying to improve the area. And I think it's time for that to stop. We think it's hurting Buffalo.
This group imagines Treehouse Toys replaced with Toys R Us, New World Record with Tower Records, and a Gap and Old Navy on Elmwood Avenue.
Can you imagine a Walmart right here in Allentown? I mean, there would be jobs galore.
I can't believe it. That sounds absurd. No one ever rallies against small business.
We wondered what the people who frequent Allentown would have to say about the challenge to think big, not small. So we took that question to the streets here today.
Who wants to come down and go to, like, the Gap or Toys R Us when you can go to that anywhere? The whole point is you have specialty shops down here that, you can buy unique things at.
It's doing so well, and everybody knows that. That's why I think it's absurd, so...
You can't even imagine
I can't even imagine that they would say this, yeah.
The marchers chose the sidewalk outside Rust Belt Books for their demonstration. The small business recently reopened on Allen Street.
What do they think big business will do for Buffalo that it hasn't already destroyed? We've seen a history of Buffalo has seen big business come and go, Trico, and what that did to a community. What we have now is the people who live here creating their own businesses.
Now, the marchers for big business corporate interests say that if you have to compromise a bit of this area's unique character, then it would be well worth it to revitalize the area. Marie Rice reporting live from Allentown tonight for News 4 at 6.
A small group is raising that very issue. Channel 2's Ron Plants has the story.
It's an unusual protest against small business policy by a small group with an unusual name. Members of the Organization of Corporations Against Cooperation say there's a cooperative bias against big business retail chains locating in the Allentown area. They say big is better.
And the corporation can provide, really unlimited amounts of jobs and products and services.
But with the obvious question of adequate retail and parking space required by larger retailers, smaller, not bigger, suits some shoppers just fine.
I really like the uniqueness in the small stores. Walmart and Toys R Us will wreck the quaintness of it.
There's a lot of energy put in. There's a lot of people on this Elmwood Strip that have got 25, 30 years in.
Community leaders say there is an interest in a big-small retail mix. They point to the ongoing effort to bring a Gap store into this location at Elmwood and Auburn.
Having those kind of stores that don't currently provide services onto Elmwood Avenue is a good thing so long as the urban feel of the street is maintained.
And even some Elmwood merchants feel some competition could actually complement and perhaps highlight their unique lines of merchandise.
I would welcome seeing, I know that there's controversy about the Gap coming in, and I think it would be a good move for them to come in. It would just bring more diversity into their area here.
Community leaders have also encouraged bookstore chains to consider the Allentown area, but again, retail space requirements keep that chapter closed for now. Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
Well, today the mastermind behind the rally says it was all a hoax. News 4's Rick Pfeiffer reports.
You are unapologetic, though, for the means in which you did it.
Entirely unapologetic. Loved it.
Don't look for Brian Lampkin to say he's sorry for a huge hoax he pulled off on Monday.
News 4's Marie Rice is live on Elmwood Avenue with the details. Marie?
Lampkin and a small group of supporters fooled all 3 Buffalo television stations and the print media into reporting on a protest claiming big business, not small shop owners, was the answer to revitalizing the Allentown neighborhood.
There's so many small businesses in Buffalo that have stood in the way of larger corporate concerns coming in and trying to improve the area.
Right. But now Lampkin admits the protest was a put-on, and he's not the least bit embarrassed about it.
I thought it was a great media prank, and I think it's your responsibility, not mine, to look into them. It's your responsibility to see something as absurd as the Organization of Corporations Against Cooperation and see through it.
Lampkin told me he was trying to spark a debate about both business growth in the city and media responsibility.
I think media is fed news all the time, and I think media has a responsibility to decide what is and isn't news and what is and isn't real.
But Lampkin wouldn't say whether he would have admitted the hoax when it was happening.
You would have admitted it was a hoax.
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know?
Well, I did admit to the people who did ask.
Right.
If Channel 4 had asked me, I don't know what I would have done.
Lampkin says the entire media hoax was, in his words, quote, great theater. And he says he'll hold a news conference July 1st to further discuss the matter. I don't think we'll be covering that.
Yeah, a lesson for all of us, I would say.
Yeah, it's turning a critical eye on us. It's all right, Rick. Thanks.
Thank you, Lee. At the last poetry reading at Borders, it's my understanding that John Christopher